Hey everybody, it's Paul Stevens here with iGo Sales and Marketing. Today we are going to install SuiteCRM 8 on your web server. So I've never really done an install tutorial before, and I've always been a little bit hesitant. One of the reasons is that SuiteCRM, everybody, the first thing they run into a problem and then they say, oh, SuiteCRM has issues. 99% of the time it's a way that the server is configured that's not allowing SuiteCRM to do what it needs to do, whether it's file permissions or file ownerships or required PHP modules or enough memory or all kinds of stuff. So there are lots of factors that really affect your installation, and I help clients out all the time get SuiteCRM working properly. Okay. So the environment that I recommend to people and the environment I use myself, and if I'm engaged to install it for somebody, I will recommend installing it in an environment that's either a hosting environment that has Cpanel or a VPS with WHM installed with Cpanel. Okay, and the reason is like, most of all the way that it gets configured by default works just fine with SuiteCRM. You don't need a whole lot of messing around, okay? And the way that most hosts would configure Cpanel works just fine for SuiteCRM, okay? Now, every host has their own different policies and they set up different things differently, which may affect how SuiteCRM runs. So, a little bit of a disclaimer there. But I'm going to show you how I install it and some of the things that I do to make sure it's running properly. Now, having said that, when I'm done, there's still a whole pile of things to do to set it up to make it work right for you. But I'm just showing you a basic install today, okay? So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm just going to move myself out of the way here. I already shot half this video once and didn't move myself out of the way, and I was in front of everything. Okay, so I'm going to skip a few steps, but I'll just sort of cover them briefly. So I went to SuiteCRM here. I've downloaded the latest version. Okay, right now they have SuiteCRM 8.1. If you're doing this in the future, it may be 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, who knows. But for now, so I've downloaded it. Okay, you get a zip file, and then that's a great place to start. Okay, so let's just have a look here. I put together just a little presentation here of all the things that we need to have a look at. So the first thing we want to do, and some of these things I'm going to assume that you know how to do them. If you don't know how to do these things, the rest of this is going to be pretty difficult for you. So I'm hoping that you have done this already. So I'm going to give you the steps here. At the end of the video, or down below, I guess, I will put a link. I'll do a blog article and I'll put a link to all these steps and the prerequisites and some of the things that I talked about here, and also some of the commands I use and things like that. So please visit my website and go and check that out. All right, so I'm assuming that you have set up a domain already or a subdomain to put it in, okay? In my case, I set up a subdomain test CRM, okay? I'm going to assume you know and have set up an SSL for the domain already, okay? You're going to need that for security, and also when your SuiteCRM connects to your email provider or whatever to send out emails, you're going to need an SSL, okay? So I am going to assume, again, that you have set up a database, an empty database, and you have set up a user for that database with all the privileges. I'll touch on that briefly, but I've already done that as a prerequisite, okay? And then we're going to want to check all the recommended PHP extensions. Again, I'll put a list of those on my blog article. And you want to make sure the PHP resource settings are sufficient to run SuiteCRM. And I'll go through those in Cpanel. Okay, so once the prerequisites are done here, then the next thing we want to move along to is the actual procedure. So what we're going to do is, I've already copied the files again just to save some time. But basically, if you're familiar with Cpanel, and I'll demonstrate quickly, you just upload the zip file, and then you unzip the file in the subdomain you created. Okay. You want to set the file permissions because they won't be right. Then you want to run the installer. Okay. Then you want to set up the DB connection. There's an install dialog where you go through that. Okay. And then we're going to want to make a couple modifications to make sure that it goes to force it through an SSL connection. Okay. Then we're going to want to edit the config file just to make sure when it creates new files and saves new files, it saves them with the proper ownership and permissions. Okay. Then finally, what we want to do is reset the file permission. So hopefully everything is now stable. Okay. And then the last thing we want to set up is our cron jobs, and we should be off to the races. And then from then there on, it's configuring SuiteCRM to however it works for you. Okay. So that's the general process we're going to go through. So I'm going to assume you guys have downloaded SuiteCRM already. Okay. And in Cpanel, you're going to want to go to your file manager. I have this open already. Okay. So you'll see that in my public HTML folder, in my public HTML folder here, I have created, oh, my session has expired. Let me log back in. Okay, file manager. In my public HTML, you'll see I have created a subdirectory test CRM. Okay, so the address of this is going to be testcrm.mydomainname. Okay, and all I did was, in this folder was obviously empty when I started, and what I did here was just upload. Okay, and then just drag and drop the zip file here that I downloaded to upload it. Okay, you go back to it, and then here was the zip file that I uploaded. Okay, and then up here you'll just extract it. Okay, and it will create all your files, folders, and directories. And as you can see, if you look at the file permissions, they're all wrong. They're all 777, which means they're open to the whole world. Okay, we don't want that. So let's go through our procedure here. So step one, we uploaded all the files. So we're going to set the file permissions. So the best way to reset these file permissions, I mean, you could do this with like FileZilla or something, but it's incredibly slow and it does it like one file at a time. So the best way is to go to terminal in your cPanel, okay? Or if your hosting doesn't have terminal, then what you're going to want to do is log in through SSH using something like PuTTY. Okay, if you don't know what PuTTY is, you can Google PuTTY. It's like a terminal emulator like this, and you can log into your server and you can manage the files like this. Okay, so I always just like to do ls, which is list, okay, and just see where I am. Okay, so, and I'm going to do this slowly. I'm not going to do any like multi-staged commands and stuff, so that if you're not super familiar with this stuff, you can follow along. Okay, so I want to go to the public HTML folder, so I'm going to change directory to public_HTML. Okay, so again, let's just see where I am. List. Okay, I'm in the right place. So if I look back at my file manager here, okay, I'm here in terms of where I am. And again, sometimes it just to keep your head straight where you're at, okay, because you can be in the wrong directory and cause a lot of problems. Okay, so I want to change directory into CRM test. Okay, oops, sorry, change. Oh, I did already. So let's do an ls. Oops, I think I had another test go on here. So I'm in test CRM, not CRM tests. Okay, so let me go back one. So I'll go cd ... which takes me up. Okay, ls, I'm back in the home directory here. So I want to be in cd test CRM. Okay, and again, just an ls to see where I'm at. Okay, this looks better. So here's all the files I just uploaded, and you can just give it a quick check here. Test CRM. Okay, there we go. So that looks like where I am. Okay, so I'm in the right place. All right, so what we are going to do here is reset all the permissions. Okay, so I'm going to put these on my blog article that you'll find a link down below. But I'm just going to cut and paste the first one here. And what this is going to do, it's going to find all the files that don't have the permission of 775, and it's going to change them to 775. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter, and that will take a minute. Okay, and while that's doing that, I'm going to copy. Actually, that's changing the folders, not the files. And then I'm going to, in this command here, I'm going to change the files. Okay, so it's going to change them all to 644. Okay, and hit enter. Wait a second. And while that's doing that, I'm going to open up just a text editor here. Okay, so the next command, I just want to edit it before I cut and paste it. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to find the user, and we want to change it all. So the user on my system is Pablo Steven 71. Okay, so we are going to want to change the ownership of all these files to me. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm just going to edit this command here, and so user '71, and we're going to change it Pablo Stevenson Ron. Okay. Okay, so that's the user. I'm going to just copy this now that I've changed it. Okay, so I'm going to just paste this in here. Okay, and I'm going to hit enter and let that go. Okay, so it has gone. All right, so in here, I'm going to refresh this. You should see all the permissions have changed. Oops, let me go back to public HTML and test CRM. Sorry, I'm having mouse issues today. The double click doesn't seem to want to work properly. Okay, so you can see now it has changed all these file permissions. Okay, so these all look right to me. Okay, 775 and 644. Okay, that looks good. And it has changed the ownership of the files. I'll just double check here. I don't know if I can see it from here. No, I can't. I won't be able to see file permission from here. But talk to your hosting provider. Generally, the user is the name of the directory that it's in. Okay, and then you'll be able to set those properly. Or if you're unsure, go into like something else that's installed on your server, like WordPress or something like that. Use FileZilla, check the permissions, and in FileZilla it does tell you who the owner of the file is. Okay, if you're unsure, that's a way to do it. Okay, and then you'll have your permissions set properly. All right, so that is by far the hardest part here. Okay, so now we're going to run the installer. Okay, so I'm going to want to navigate to Okay, so I'm going to my subdomain, which is testcrm.mydomain.com. Okay. And hopefully this works. Okay, and it does. We're good news here. If you see this screen, you've done good so far. Okay, so it has forwarded that to the install. Okay, here's the URL of the SuiteCRM instance. Okay, and we are going to want to put HTTPS. Oops. Okay, always use the SSL version if you can, if you have it installed and it's working. I don't have my top of the screen showing up top here, but in the URL I'm in, I have the lock, I am at HTTPS. Okay, so then the database, let me just go here. Okay. So again, I'm probably going to blank all this stuff out so that you can't log into my domain. But I'm going to copy there we are, sorry. I'm going to copy the password into here. Okay. And to ask for me twice, no it doesn't. Okay, so your host name is generally local host. Okay, and then the database name is the name of the database that you created. Okay, and again I'll probably blur that out. Database host, oh I think it's 3306. Let me just double check. Do I have the install documentation here? So they have a lot of this information here. Host name, database name, yeah, 3306 is the default one. Your hosting, again, this is another hosting thing, but your hosting provider may have that something different. In most cases, it's going to be 3306. Okay. Then I'm going to want to create a SuiteCRM administrator account. Okay. So again, I have a pre set up one here, and a password pre-set up. Okay, so this is the moment of truth. If we entered all this database stuff here, we should be good. Okay, so I'm going to proceed. Okay, I know what the problem is. I forgot to fill in this field. So in this case, it's a demo install. I want to populate the database with demo data. There is a function in SuiteCRM to remove it afterwards. So if you want to play around with it, you might want to click on yes. Okay, so I think this should work now. So let's just proceed. Okay, so that was looking pretty good. So you can see that everything here looks good except for the upload file size. Okay, so I forgot to cover this in Cpanel, but let's go and just check this out. Okay, so in Cpanel, I'm going to go to first the PHP manager. Okay, so you want to make sure that the domain that you're running, test CRM. Okay, I'm running PHP 8. Okay, so you're going to want to check in SuiteCRM.com what version of PHP that this supports. I think that the version 8 will support 7.4 and above, but of course, why not be on PHP 8? Okay. So the next thing we're going to want to do is check our PHP resource limits. Okay, so a couple things here. Where are we? So the PHP ini editor. Okay, so we're going to want to select our domain. Okay, and probably should have done this before we ran the installer, but so you're going to probably want to make sure display errors is turned off. Otherwise, you're going to see all kinds of errors on the screen, and most of them are just warnings, and it's going to just, you're going to think something's wrong. And anyway, you don't need to have that on unless you're debugging. Okay. You want to enable file uploads. Okay, so everything else here is pretty good, except you can see that my upload max file size is not enough. It should be at least 32. My post max size should be 32. Max execution time, I'm going to change it from 30 to 300, and my input time from 60 to 600. My memory limit, 512, I think is going to be pretty sufficient. Everything else I think looks good. If you want to turn off this output compression, I find that just messes up things more than they need to be. You can experiment with it yourself. Okay, so I'm just going to apply that. Okay, now everything else should be good here. Errors have been checked during compatibility, so obviously this one. So I fixed it. So let's proceed again. I think that's what I need to do. Okay, this may take a while. I'm just going to pause this until we have this installed. Okay, we're back, and it looks like it probably didn't work. So let's just, I got some kind of blank error message here. Let's just go and see what happens. Okay, so I got some kind of error that I can't see. However, when I navigate to the login here, it appears to work. Okay, so let's see if I can log in. I may have to just reset all my file permissions again, is my guess. But let's just, actually, you know what? Before I log in, let's just go ahead and do that. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my Cpanel here. I'm going to get my commands here. So there's the 2775 or 2755. Okay. Setting the files. And my last one here. Okay, so I think everything should be good. So before I actually log in, I just want to make sure that things are set up correctly. I'm going to just make sure that I'm forcing SSL in the config file, and that also the file permissions can be set properly. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my Cpanel, and I'm going to go to my file manager. Okay, so I'm going to go to my installation. So it's public HTML, test CRM. okay? And if you're familiar with SuiteCRM 7, all this folder structure is completely different in 8, but you will find your config file in public and legacy. Okay, now this is what the old SuiteCRM 7 looked like. Okay, so you'll find your config file here. I'm just going to edit this and give you a warning, and you say fine. Okay, so there's a couple things I just want to double check that the URL and the host name are correct. Okay, so I'm just going to search URL, and you can see I have HTTPS test CRM. Okay, host name. Oop. No, it's just, sorry, the site URL was the other one I was looking for. So I got site URL, and that looks correct, and the host name looks correct here. Okay, so you'll see that it's test.igosalesandmarketing.com. That's where I want it. So that those two are kind of very important, just to make sure everything's working correctly, and also the fact that it's HTTPS will force it to go to the right place. Okay. Okay. So here are our permissions. Okay. So our default permissions here, we want to change these to 02755, and we want to change this one to 0644. Okay, and then the user is, and the group okay, so that'll just ensure that any new files that get written are going to get written with those file permissions. Okay, so I'm going to just save that. Okay, so we should be good. I'm going to try and actually log in now. I think everything should be fine. I'm not sure what happened here. I'm hoping that this completed properly, but if not, we'll find out in a minute. Okay, so let me get my login and password here. Already figured out to redirect it to that directory, but we'll find out in a minute here. Okay, so where was I doing that? Have too many things open here. Can't find where I was doing it. Okay, I'll just start again. All right, so cron jobs. I'm going to run it all the time. I'm going to paste that in there, and I'm going to just change the URL to the one where I just installed it. Okay, so I'm thinking I may have to change this path here from just cron to exactly where it needs to go. But let's just see what happens here. So I'm going to add the new cron, okay? And if I refresh the page here, I should see my new cron job here, and I can edit it, so don't worry, okay? So at the end of this, you'll see dev null 2 and 1, okay? If you get rid of that, it will send you an email every time it runs, okay? And sometimes that's helpful for troubleshooting, but in my case, I don't want that right now. I'm going to just see if it actually runs, okay? So I'm going to go back to SuiteCRM. I'm going to check process. You can see this is a good one because it runs as often as possible. So if I open this one up, hopefully I should see it has run for the first time. Okay, and it hasn't. So I'm thinking that possibly I need to edit that file directory here. So it was in so it's public legacy. It's the test CRM, and then it's public legacy. Okay, so if I go back and edit this to like that. So now we have the right path where cron is. I think that should work. Okay, and again, I've done this a million times with SuiteCRM 7, not so many times with SuiteCRM 8 as it is new, but we'll see if this will work now. Okay, so let's just refresh this. Okay, and I'm just going to put you on pause here and just wait a minute for it to run. If it doesn't run, I'll come back and we'll try and troubleshoot it. Okay, so we're back here, and as you can see, I've waited a minute, and cron jobs are not running. So I have one other idea here to get this working, and again, I will put on my blog article all this stuff, but I'm going to go to my install directory, go to public, go to legacy, and I'm going to edit my config file here. Again, one more time, I'm going to edit that. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is the user. Okay, so I'm just going to look for cron. So what we're looking for here is allowed cron users. I have this here. I know this is a common problem. I will cut and paste this into my instructions as well. So I'm just going to cut and paste that in here. Okay, so what I'm saying is the allowed cron users are, okay, and remember this is running as Pablo Stevens 71, okay. If you happen to be running as root, you do not want to run as root in here, okay? But anyway, we will save that. Okay, and let's go back to my cron job here. Okay, and we're just going to wait a minute. I will put it on pause. Okay, we're back here, and as you can see, process workflow tasks has run. Okay, so I'm going to share with you the new cron job code that you need here. Okay, so let's go to my cron jobs. Okay, so I had in SuiteCRM 7, what worked for me was going the domain / cron jobs, and it would automatically forward it to where cron jobs is. Okay. However, when I do that on SuiteCRM 8, I'm thinking there's some rewrite rules in the HT access file, and it changes this to /legacy. So when I go to public legacy, where it's actually going to is legacy / public legacy cron PHP, and of course that is wrong. Okay, so what I did was, you can see here, I just completely removed the domain name and just put the exact path on the server to the file. Okay, and that seems to have worked, and as you can see, it's running. So now I know my SuiteCRM is installed, the cron jobs are running properly, and everything is ready to go, and it's ready for setup. Okay, so that means, you know, importing your leads, setting up your workflows, doing all the kinds of stuff that you need to do, and that's a basic install. That's the well, second time I've done it with SuiteCRM 8. So anyway, I thought I would share with everybody. I've done it a million times with SuiteCRM 7, and it usually goes a lot smoother because I've worked out all these problems already. But I will modify the cron jobs procedure, and I will put that in my blog article as well. So please click and have a look, and all that stuff will be there. And by all means, I do this for a living, and I help people install SuiteCRM. I help them document their sales workflow and get it automated in SuiteCRM, and help them with customizations and custom modules and getting their email set up and all kinds of stuff. So if you need help with any of those things, please visit my website, or I'll have my LinkedIn information below. You can reach out to me anytime, and again, I do this for a living. You can hire me and I'm happy to help you.